Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking on a topic that's got a lot of, well, mystery and hype around it.
Yeah.
Ginseng.
Yeah, trying to sift through it all can be a real challenge.
Right. You sent us a ton of stuff on ginseng, so clearly you're ready to dig in and get to the truth.
Absolutely, let's do it.
So we're looking at the always helpful Wikipedia, latest update, September 1st, 2024.
So pretty recent.
Very recent. Plus some other cool stuff you've dug up.
Should be fun.
Now, everyone's heard about ginseng, right? It's got this big reputation as a health booster, but...
But where'd that reputation come from?
Exactly. We're talking centuries of use. Like even ancient texts mention it. The Shennong Pharmacopoeia goes all the way back to 196 AD.
Wow, almost 2,000 years.
Mentions ginseng for medicinal uses.
It's amazing how important ginseng has been, and still is, in traditional Chinese and Korean medicine.
Right. Totally ingrained in those traditions.
And this is where things get kind of interesting, even with all that history. Modern science hasn't totally confirmed a lot of the health claims you hear about ginseng.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'd think by now we'd have it all figured out.
You would, wouldn't you?
So what's the deal with that?
Well, for one thing, research on these kinds of herbal remedies, it's not so straightforward.
Right. It's not like testing a new pharmaceutical.
Exactly. Isolating the specific compounds, figuring out their effects, controlling for all the different factors. It gets complicated.
It's complex, for sure.
And on top of that, traditional use, it often focuses on the whole picture, the holistic benefits, which can be tough to measure with the kind of hard data modern research wants to see.
So it's not that the traditional uses are wrong.
Right, not at all.
It's more that proving them scientifically needs a different approach.
Yeah, like a whole new set of tools.
It reminds me of how people used willow bark for pain for ages, way before scientists figured out it was this salicylic acid in it, and boom, aspirin.
Exactly. Sometimes those traditional practices are ahead of the science.
And science is playing catch up.
It takes time. But going back to the FDA for a sec.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because we don't have tons of studies definitively proving specific health claims for ginseng.
The FDA's not sold yet.
Right, and they've had to step in along with the Federal Trade Commission.
Oh, really? What have they done?
They've issued warnings to some companies that were making claims about ginseng that weren't backed up by solid evidence.
Unsubstantiated claims, yeah.
Gotta love those legal terms, right?
Which explains all those disclaimers we see on ginseng products. Makes you stop and think.
Informed consumers are the best kind of consumers.
Absolutely.
And speaking of being informed, can we clear up something right off the bat?
Yeah.
When we say ginseng, we're not talking about just one thing.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's more like, I don't know, a family.
With different members of the family?
With different members, and some are definitely more popular than others.
Gotcha. So, like, it's not just Apple, it's Granny Smith or Honeycrisp, each with its own thing going on.
Perfect analogy. The real deal ginsengs, they belong to the Panax genus.
Panax, okay?
You've got Korean ginseng, American ginseng, even Himalayan ginseng, all under that Panax umbrella.
So what about all the other ginsengs you see out there? Like, I've seen Siberian ginseng. What's up with that?
Ugh, Siberian ginseng. It's like that cousin who wants to be in the band but doesn't quite play the same instrument.
So not quite the real deal.
Siberian ginseng has some things in common with Panax ginseng, sure, but it's actually a totally different genus.
So it's its own thing then?
It's important to know the difference because it affects everything, the chemicals in the plant, the potential effects, all of it.
Okay, so we've got our Panax ginsengs, the real MVPs.
The real deal, for sure.
But now I'm picturing those nature shows.
Yeah.
You know, with people hiking through forests, searching for this valuable root.
Oh, yeah.
Got to talk about wild ginseng versus the stuff that's cultivated.
Definitely. That's a whole other world.
Wild ginseng is like the ultimate treasure hunt, right? Especially in Korea, they've got those samani.
Ginseng hunters.
Yeah, those highly skilled folks who brave the mountains to find this rare root.
It's a big deal culturally and historically.
Totally. And you can see why wild ginseng is incredibly rare, which makes it super valuable.
Oh, yeah. The prices are wild, too. We're talking hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars for a single ounce.
No way. So different from the cultivated stuff.
Huge difference. Cultivated ginseng, the kind you usually find that's mostly grown on farms.
Makes sense. Got to meet the demand somehow.
Right, and it's amazing, but 99% of the world's ginseng, it all comes from just 4 countries.
Get out. Which ones?
Let's see, we're talking China, South Korea.
Okay, makes sense so far.
Canada, and the U.S.
Wow. Never would have guessed all 4 of those.
It's a global market, but those are the big players, for sure.
You can think about everything that goes into it, from those farms to the little bottles on the shelf.
Totally. And we haven't even touched on processing. That's where things get even more interesting.
Oh, yeah, different types of ginseng, right? White ginseng, red ginseng, and then there's the fresh stuff.
You got it. Ever wonder what makes them different?
Honestly, yeah, it's always confused me a little.
So, the simplest way to put it is, it's all about the processing. White ginseng, that's basically just the root peeled and dried.
Okay, so that's the most basic form.
Exactly. Now, red ginseng, that's where things get interesting. They actually steam it.
Steaming, I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's what gives it that darker color.
Yep. It changes the color, but it also does a lot more than that.
Like what?
Steaming changes the chemical makeup of the ginseng, makes it last longer, less likely to go bad, and it might even change how it affects your body.
Wow, so it's not just cosmetic, it actually changes the ginseng itself.
Exactly. Kind of like roasting vegetables. Changes the flavor, but also the nutrients and all that.
Right, totally. So we've got different species, different ways of processing. It's not as simple as just ginseng, is it?
Nope. And then there's the whole world of those active compounds, like ginsenosides.
Ah, yes, ginsenosides. Those are supposed to be the key to all the health benefits, right?
That's what a lot of people think. And yeah, ginsenosides are super important, but
But there's more to it.
ginseng is crazy complex. It's not just ginsenosides, it's a whole bunch of compounds working together.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize.
It's like an orchestra. You need all the different instruments to make the music work.
I like that analogy. And the Wikipedia article mentioned some other compounds too, like polysaccharides and polyphenols.
There you go. It's a whole symphony of chemicals in there, and honestly, we're still figuring out how they all interact and what that means for our health.
So even with all we know about ginseng, there's still a lot we don't.
You got it. It's a bit of a mystery wrapped in a root, shrouded in centuries of tradition.
Huh.
Yeah.
I like that. But it makes you wonder, with all this talk about health benefits, what does the science actually say? Does ginseng really live up to the hype?
That's where things get a little fuzzy, to be honest.
Oh, how so?
Oh, those long-term studies, they're just harder to do.
Right, keeping track of people for years and years.
Exactly. It's a huge undertaking. So we don't have a super clear picture of what happens with long-term ginseng use.
So more research is needed.
Definitely. Always more research to be done.
The Wikipedia article did mention some potential issues with using ginseng long-term, like maybe feeling more nervous or anxious.
Yeah, that's possible.
Even blood pressure changes.
It's something to watch out for sure.
And there was a specific warning about using ginseng while breastfeeding.
Right, because we just don't know enough about how it might affect infants.
Better safe than sorry, right?
Exactly. It's always best to be cautious, especially with long-term use, or if you're pregnant or breastfeeding.
It's amazing, we've talked about ginseng's history, the different kinds, the science, even safety.
It's a whole world in a little root.
Right. But there's still this, pull it has, this allure.
Oh, for sure.
And if the science isn't totally there yet, what do you think keeps people so fascinated by ginseng after all this time?
I think it speaks to something deeper than just the data and the studies.
Like what?
Well, think about it. Ginseng is deeply, deeply rooted in tradition, especially in Asian cultures.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's been seen as the symbol of vitality, long life, even spiritual power for generations.
It's like this ancient wisdom passed down through the ages.
And that kind of cultural significance, it's powerful.
It really sticks with people.
It taps into that hope we all have, that hope for good health, for a connection to something bigger than ourselves.
And the power of nature, too, right? This ancient plant holding these secrets.
Absolutely. And those desires, those hopes, they're timeless.
They go beyond what we can prove in a lab.
Exactly. It's about more than just the science.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into ginseng, what are some key things you hope our listener will take away from all this?
That's a good question. I guess the biggest thing is approach ginseng, or any supplement for that matter, with a critical mind.
Don't just buy into the hype.
Exactly. Do your research, talk to your doctor, be an informed consumer.
Love it. What else?
Oh, and remember, ginseng is not a monolith.
Right. There are different types, different ways of processing it.
It's a whole family of plants with its own quirks and complexities.
And we're still learning about it all the time.
Exactly. The research is ongoing, and that's exciting.
It is exciting.
Ugh.
Always more to discover.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive, really eye-opening. I feel like we've peeled back the layers of this mysterious root.
Unearthed some fascinating stuff, that's for sure.
Totally. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of ginseng. We hope you've learned something new and maybe even feel inspired to keep exploring.
Keep those curious minds engaged.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.